So, who can tell me what the little thing that we use in biology that we use to possibly predict the statistical chance of what the offspring might look like in a parental cross? Some of you may have heard of this thing before, and actually, because I stopped the video and paused it, it says it right there on the screen. This is something that not everyone has gotten to yet. We're going to get into this a little bit more in Unit 8, but we're going to go over it right now a little bit. Anyone ever heard of a Punnett square? Yes, a Punnett square. Maybe you've heard of that. You've heard of this word in a previous class. We're gonna get into that a little bit more as we move into Unit 8 of this semester. So we're gonna go over it a little bit here, but you can kind of pocket this assignment until we get to that part. We're gonna start hitting into that about the end of November, middle of November. And yes, a Punnett square is used to predict the statistical chance of what an offspring between the two parents might look like. It's not a guarantee, but it's a statistical analysis. And that sounds complicated, but it's really kind of simple. We're going to go over a couple of examples here. So first thing, what we're going to do is I'm going to pop open our Dragon Genetics worksheet that I am going to link for you in a moment. I'm going to upload it as a file, the blank version of the worksheet. And you can all download that. Okay, do launch. All right, so there should be another tab at the top now that says Dragon Genetics, and you can download it. If you go to the Dragon Genetics tab at the top, and you go to like the right side, kind of towards the top, and you see the little arrow pointing down in the upper right, you can click that and download this file, okay, from that tab. But let's go back to the screen share tab. And we are going to very quickly kind of go over this worksheet. Now, the assignment is to complete this worksheet. We're going to do a couple of examples. And like I said, you can complete this and you can send it to me for extra credit. You can save it for the spring, whatever you want to do. So let's take a look at this real quick. Okay. So we're going to help Silvaria and Aurelio determine what the traits of their hatchlings might be. And we're going to be looking at several traits for this assignment. We're going to look at neck length, eye color, whether they have claws on their wings, whether they have horns, what color their scales are, if they have armor, and so on and so forth. These are all traits that we are going to be looking at. So, has anybody ever heard of dominant traits and recessive traits? Have you heard these words before? So, in genetic speak, in the biology genetic talk, a dominant trait is denoted by a capital letter, and a recessive trait is a lowercase letter. Notice you use the same letter. So if you're talking about neck length, we're going to use N. Dominant in this example is a long neck. Recessive is a short neck. Also keep in mind that dominant is not better than recessive. It doesn't mean better or worse. All it means is that if there is a copy of the dominant version present, that's the one that will be expressed in the organism. Does that make sense? So, for example, if every organism has two alleles, two versions of a trait in their DNA. We get one from mom, we get one from dad. Two alleles of a trait. So in this example, there are two alleles present in an offspring for neck length. It could be two capital N's, which would be double homozygous dominant, or you could have two recessive, two lowercase n's, or you could have one dominant long neck and one recessive short neck. But you can have two alleles, two versions of every trait in your DNA. And so it is the same for the dragon offspring. And like I said, We're going to get into this more in Unit 8, so you can just kind of follow along, and we're going to get into this more, and we can come back to this after we get into the lessons a little bit. I just wanted to get this in your hands early in case you wanted to use it for extra credit or something. So the first part of the worksheet is fairly straightforward. Okay. So yeah, so like F is dominant. So if you're looking here on like fire breathing, the ability to fire breathe is dominant, capital F. Can't breathe fire is recessive, lowercase f. And these are just like examples. Usually when you're doing the Punnett square, they will give you the letters and they will also tell you what's dominant and what's recessive. It's really important to remember this, okay? Don't use like, for this example here, this is what not to do. Don't use capital L for long neck and S for short neck. You're picking a letter based on the trait, which is neck size, so we're going to use N. Like in here, the trait is eye color, so we're using E. Dominant, recessive. All right. So what letters are used to represent eye color? That's the first question. Someone tell me. E. We're using E. Uppercase is dominant, red eyes. Lowercase is recessive, white eyes. What letters are used to represent neck length? N. Capital N or lowercase n. 3, the letter W is used to represent what? Capital W. Capital W is what? What does that represent? Feathered wings, right. Is that dominant or recessive? Are feathered wings dominant or recessive? Right. Dominant, capital. So you're going to fill out this part of the worksheet, answer those questions, okay? So an uppercase or capital letter is used to represent a dominant trait. A lowercase or small letter is used to represent a recessive trait. Dominant traits completely mask or suppress recessive traits. For the key and answer the following questions. List 6 dominant traits shown in the key. So we'll go back to the key here. Someone list me some dominant traits. And just kind of randomly pick whatever you want from the key. What are some dominant alleles / traits? Spikes on tail. Yep, that is correct. Capital S, spikes on tail. Armored belly. Let's see. Yeah. Capital A, armored belly. Yep. What else? Long neck. Yep. Okay. Fire breathing. Yep. Silver body. Is that dominant? Where is that? It's right here. Yep. Yeah, okay, so you guys get that. Those are the dominant ones. So you're going to list all those, list 6 of those, and then you're going to do the same thing with recessive. You're going to find the ones with the lowercase letters. You're going to fill that out. So here's kind of where it gets a little weird, but not too bad. Below, 4 of Silvaria's, she's the mother, chromosomes are listed. There are a specific number of genes located on each chromosome. Determine if Silvaria is homozygous or heterozygous for each trait. Homozygous means you have 2 of the same allele. So it would be like capital N, or lowercase n. Remember, everyone has 2. Could also be heterozygous. That means you have 1 of each. You have a capital N and a lowercase n, as an example. Some must be homozygous to be expressed. Others could be heterozygous. So, looking at Silvaria, here's a picture of Silvaria right here. You can see that she has spikes on her tail. According to the key, spikes on tail is a dominant trait and is represented by capital letter S. So here's what that means. Silvaria could either be dominant, big S, or heterozygous, big S, little s, because the dominant trait will always be expressed. And you can see she has spikes on her tail. Since spikes on the tail is dominant, she could be carrying the recessive gene, but it wouldn't be expressed. Example 2, claws on wings. You can see that Silvaria does not have claws on her wings from the picture. This is a recessive trait. No claws is a recessive trait. It's represented by small letter C. So since claws on wings is not a dominant trait, the only way she could not have claws is if she didn't have the gene for it at all. So if she had the gene for claws on her wings, because that's the dominant one, it would be expressed. Since she clearly does not have them, that means she has to be homozygous recessive. So claws on wings, that we're using the letter C, Say no claws on wings is lowercase c. So she would have to be lowercase c, lowercase c. So now we're going to determine Silvaria's alleles for each trait listed in the illustrations below. Remember, she could be heterozygous for dominant traits. That's up to you. But if a trait is recessive, she must be homozygous recessive. So when you're determining what her allele makeup is, some of them have to be heterozygous for dominant traits, could be homozygous as well. So let's go into that. So these four little circles here represent Silvaria's chromosomes. And I've given you an example here at the top. So some of these you can kind of guess. You have to make them up as long as you're consistent with the letters. So eye color. In this example, I've made her homozygous recessive. Little e, little e. I just kind of made that up because you can't really see her eye color from the picture. But what is little e, little e? What color eyes does she have if she has little e for eye color? Yep, she has white eyes. Yeah, like you can tell some stuff from the picture, but if you want to decide whether or not she has an armored belly or red eyes or white eyes, it's up to you as long as you get the letters right on the chromosome. So you can kind of be creative on this and decide what you want her to have. Okay, but yeah, little e, little e. So spikes, little s, little s. What does she have according to the key? Little s, little s. Wait a minute, sorry. According to the picture, that's big S, big S. Big S, big S. According to the picture, what does she have? What is her expressed trait if she has two capital S's? What does that mean? What does that show up as on her self? Yeah, spikes on tail. So she has spikes on tail. And horns, big H, little h. Go into the key. What does that mean? She has one of each, big H and little h. So multiple horns, big H is dominant. Little h, only two horns is recessive. So what does she have expressed from big H and little h? Yeah, she's going to have multiple horns because multiple horns is dominant. Now look over at Aurelio, the gold dragon. What do you think his alleles are for horns? What do they have to be? Look at his picture. How many horns does he have? So only two horns is recessive. So what does it have to be? It has to be little h, little h. If he had one big H in his genetic makeup, that's dominant. So he would be showing multiple horns too. So since he only has two, his genetic makeup has to be little h, little h. Does that kind of make sense? Okay. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to fill out these little circles for Silvaria, and you can make these up to be whatever you want. I don't really necessarily care if you follow the picture. Like if you want her to have a long tail or a short tail, that's up to you. If you want her to have an armored belly or not, that's up to you. You can decide what her traits are, just as long as your letters correctly reflect what you chose. Okay? So you're going to fill out all those circles for Silvaria, and then you're going to do the same thing for Aurelio. So you're determining the parent's chromosomes. You can go up the picture or you can make them up, as long as you're consistent. Then you are going to make some Punnett squares for each trait. So now we are basically crossing Silvaria and Aurelio to see the statistical probability of what the baby dragons will have. And if you're confused, that's okay. We have not gotten to this material yet. It's in Unit 8. And after you go through it in Unit 8, we're going to come back to Punnett squares later. So if you're confused, you can just sit on this assignment for a while until we get to that material. Just wanted to get this in front of you. So let's do the first Punnett square here for eye color. Notice that each Punnett square has a trait. So we're going to go ahead and put Silvaria on the top cross. And we determined here that Silvaria had little e. And we're going to put Aurelio on the side. And it was determined that Aurelio had big E, little e. According to the key, big E, little e is what? Big E and little e is what? What color eyes does Aurelio have? Red eyes. Yep, red is dominant. So we've got our square set up. And now all you do for the Punnett square is you bring the two letters together in the box. So for this box here, you're going to bring those two together, put them in a box. For this box here, you're going to put that one and that one together, put them in a box. For this box here, you're going to put that one and that one together. And for this box here, you can put that one and that one together. And you just bring them down, put them together, put the letters together. So this represents the statistical probability of what the offspring is going to look like. So you have two boxes with little e, little e. What does that mean? What color eyes is little e, little e? According to the key. White, yep. And what color eyes is big E, little e? According to the key. Big E, little e. Red, yeah. So, out of 4 boxes, 2 of them have white eyes, and 2 of them have red eyes. So what are the statistical chances, based on this box, that the babies will have white eyes? 50%. What are the chances they'll have red eyes? 50%. Okay. What if only one of the boxes had little e, little e? What would the odds be then? Imagine this was different, and only one had little e, little e. Be 25%. Correct. What if 3 boxes had big E, little e? What would the percentage chance be if 3 were the same? 75%. Everyone kind of picking that up? It's like 4 quarters equal $1 kind of a deal. Okay, so you're going to do that for all of the traits. So you're going to make up the traits here in the chromosomes. Like if we were going to do spikes, big S. I'm sorry, this is supposed to be big S based on the picture. But like I said, it doesn't matter. You'd put SS on the top for Silvaria here somewhere. And for Aurelio, you'd put SS on the side for Aurelio, and then you'd cross them. Yeah, if they were all the same, it'd be 100%. Yep. Like if both Silvaria and Aurelio had, big E, like they both had that for their genetic makeup, 100% chance the offspring will also have big E. Keep in mind, Punnett squares are a vast oversimplification of how things really work. We're not going to hit you with the full genetic link cross-chromosomal mapping allele distribution in 9th grade biology, fortunately. This is a simplified version of reality. Baby steps. Baby steps, people. So just because this, 9th grade Punnett square thing tells you this, it's more complicated than that. But we're just going to worry about this for right now. Okay? Baby steps, yeah. If you want to really learn how genetic mapping and pedigrees and genetic inheritance and cross-linking and codominance and incomplete dominance and all that stuff work, become a biologist and a geneticist in college. Right now, we're keeping it simple. So, Riley, just to answer your question real quick, hair color can sometimes skip a generation. Do either of your grandparents have blonde hair? Well, maybe it's gray now, but was it blonde? So, lots of stuff like that can happen. Yeah. Anyway, so you fill out all the Punnett squares. We're going to have a lesson on genetics, dominance, codominance, Punnett squares sometime in lesson 8 in a live lesson, because it actually is kind of interesting, especially when you want to get back into your heritage and stuff. So sit tight. More on this is coming. But anyways, for now, you're going to finish all the Punnett squares for all the traits. Okay. And now here's the fun part. You're going to basically build yourself a baby dragon from your potential traits. So you can pick what your baby dragon is going to look like based on the possibilities that come out of your Punnett squares. Pick a trait, put in their genotype, determine if it's heterozygous or homozygous, and then determine the phenotype. So for big E, little e, red eyes. Put in the genotype, which is the letters, and the phenotype, which is what is expressed. These are your chromosomes for your baby dragons as they come out. So there's 4 chromosomes. The baby dragons are going to have 4 chromosomes, just like the parents. So right now you're building your chromosomes for the babies. Okay, chromosome 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then if you want, you can draw your hatchling. So based on what traits your hatchling has and what phenotype they express, you can draw it. You can draw it by hand. If you want to use, I think it would be awesome if anyone knows how to use an AI image generator. That would be amazing. I would love to see that. If you want to use Midjourney or something, if anyone has access to that, ChatGPT can do it, but I think it's like you have to use like the paid version. But I do think you get some free trials. Google also has a free image generator. You have like 10 free trials. I think it's called Starry AI. But there's a lot of AI image generators out there where it'll give you like 10 free ones, and then you got to pay like 50 cents per image or something, but they're all different. If you want to draw it, that's fine. You can totally draw it. You'll get the same credit if you draw it. And if you really, really don't want to draw it at all, just write down what the traits are. Right? Because I'm not a very good artist, and I'm not really good with AI image generators. So if you just want to like write down on here what the traits are, long neck, red eyes, armored belly, whatever, that's fine. But draw it or use an AI thing, and you'll definitely get some brownie points at least, because that is cool. Anyways, so that is the optional assignment to help Silvaria and Aurelio, our dragon friends. If you haven't downloaded the file yet, make sure you do that. It's on the Dragon Genetics tab at the top. There's a little download arrow in the upper right, so you can download your own copy of it. And that is it for today. If you choose to do this, just send it to me when it's done, and I'll get you some extra credit for it. If you want to save it for next semester's spring portfolio, just hang on to it. Make sure you put it in a safe spot so you know where it is, and you can turn it in the spring. But that is all for today. I will stick around for some questions, and no boss battle today. Boss battle next week. Boss battle next week. We'll be coming up on our Unit 7 test next week, but we will have a boss battle next week, and it is going to be pivotal and epic. So I hope everyone can attend. See you all then.